system level analysis of foreign policy of a particular state, and the state level analysis. In the state level analysis normally states internal structure, its foreign policy.
If you look at the composition of FATA from even a linguistic point of view, it is 100% Pashtun population. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let's give him a big applause for wonderful. What do you think?
I would like to mention that we will be having 3 speakers with us in this session. Dr. Nusha Jahan, Mr. Naeem Tahir, and Ms. Maria Saifuddin Effendi. Over to you, Dr. Nasser Ali Khan.
Present that the two part, that is economic development in FATA, basically motivated me to present this paper and conduct this study. And the second thing is that this is basically a critical approach from the security point of view. That is, most of the time, the consideration of the policymakers are from the strategic perspective. When we look at both FATA, Afghanistan, or on the other side, India.
जहाँ एक ही मुल्क के रहने वाले मुख्तलिफ कानून के तहत आ जाते हैं, और जब कानून बदलता है तो बदकिस्मती इसकी ये है कि उसको बदलने की आदत पड़ जाती है, और उमरा के लिए और कानून हो जाता है, जोरावर के लिए और कानून हो जाता है, और गरीब के लिए और कानून हो जाता है.
And learn from everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Hussain, Shaheed Soharwordi. He has been an inspiration, my mentor. Thank you very much, sir, for having me here. Before I start with my presentation, I would like to say that whatever thoughts and ideas I am going to share on the topic, they are my very own and they do not reflect National Defense University policies. The topic I am going to speak on is Operation Zarb-e-Azab Peace Building in FATA, and I am going to apply concept of 5 R's in the current economic challenges of FATA.
10 years back, we did a study on FATA education. There were 21,000 teachers in the 5,000 plus schools at that time. There were maybe many more now. There were 19,000 auxiliary staff, about 42,000 employees of these schools. And we traced a group of students for 14 years. 14 years we did the calculation, followed those students, and finally, in the 14th year, we found out that only 60 boys had graduated out of that lot, which was close to 250,000 who were enrolled at the primary level.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of first formal session of this today's National Conference. Just one slide in addition to what was stated a bit before, and that is that we're just sitting here discussing things and blaming people and there is no way ahead. No, ऐसी बात नहीं है. We are not blaming anyone. हम यहाँ पर इशू को उठा रहे हैं. हम चाह रहे हैं कि मामलात को लेकर आए सामने. Of course उसमें blaming भी है, लेकिन इससे क्या हो रहा है? इससे आपके दिमाग में एक ओपिनियन बन रही है. हम आपको एक मैच्योर ओपिनियन बनाने की मेन मदद दे रहे हैं यहाँ पर. ये तमाम जो मुज़ाकरे होते हैं, कॉन्फ्रेंसेस होती हैं, वर्कशॉप्स होती हैं, इसका मकसद यही होता है कि आप एक ऐसी मैच्योर ओपिनियन बना लें जिसके मुताबिक फिर आप एक एक्सरसाइज कर सकें. एक्सरसाइज क्या? एक्सरसाइज टू वोट. एक्सरसाइज निदान बदलने की. एक्सरसाइज वो जहां पर आप जाकर जॉब करेंगे, वहां पर आप कैसे काम करेंगे. तो ऐसा नहीं होता कि यहाँ पर सिर्फ ब्लेम ही किया जा रहा होता है या सिर्फ आर्गुमेंट किया जा रहा होता है. आर्गुमेंट दर हकीकत कुछ लोगों को मैच्योर कर रहे होते हैं, उनको तालीम दे रही होती है. इस वक्त हम क्या तालीम दे रहे हैं? हम ये कहते हैं फाटा के लिहाज से एक बड़ा खूबसूरत किस्म का जो है इक्तिसादी एक जुमला है अंग्रेजी में, और उसके कहते हैं कि पॉवर्टी एनीवेयर इज अ थ्रेट टू प्रॉस्पेरिटी एवरीवेयर. So prosperity anywhere must be shared. shared everywhere. हम यहाँ पर ये बताना चाह रहे हैं पॉवर्टी, प्रॉस्पेरिटी कौन कब कैसे है और कहाँ कौन पहले है और किस तरीके से दूसरे को एकोमोडेट करे, वरना ये मामला मजीद खराब हो जाएंगे। तो यहाँ पर हम एक तालीमी मामले में हैं, यहाँ पर हम किसी सूरत में कोई ब्लेम नहीं करना चाह रहे हैं। आप तमाम लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। Yes, Seema, anything for your side, for us from your side? Thank you everyone.
It's about the representation of Fata as a human community where human beings live. I think we have inherited this mindset of what we call Yagastan, we used to call it. It's written in the Urdu text most of the time, before partition and also I think after partition. And it was the British policy of kind of forward and backward policy, as they used to call it. According to the forward policy, they needed a buffer between Tsarist Russia.
I want to talk about the way forward in post-Fata era. That could be a merger, or with some people saying that may not be a merger or some other status. Whatever the case is, I would say that these are the things which need to be focused on for economic development and growth as far as transportation sector is concerned.
So there has been a study, FATA Development Indicators Household Survey, that does provide a standing variable, but they provide it for the overall FATA region. They do not disintegrate into different agencies. Hence, I cannot match, as a researcher, I cannot match a child in an agency to the attacks in that agency. So, hence, this prevents us from doing an empirical examination of the violence-centered relationship in FATA.
Only 14% of the FATA population engages itself in agriculture, contrary to about 41-42%, which is the national average. The reason is that hardly 6% of this region is under water or under irrigation. Not much of a land available for agriculture, so you cannot expect it to provide or meet your shortfall of wheat and other staple foods. But surely there are regions in this area where there's a lot of potential for certain high-value crops.
A lot of people are agree that Fata should be merged in KP, but we know Fata, any provincial administrative tribal area, they are not developed till today. So what will be the situation of Fata if they merge in KP?
फाटा को 3% ये शेयर जाएगा NFC अवार्ड में। पिछले दिनों 11 जनवरी की डान की जो रिपोर्ट है उसके मुताबिक सूबों ने CCI काउंसिल ऑफ कॉमन इंटरेस्ट इसका जो इतराज़ हुआ था, उनका ये इतराज़ था कि वहाँ पर जो इन्होंने ये नुक्ता नहीं उठाया था फेडरल गवर्नमेंट ने कि इसको मर्ज किया जाए, तो उनकी तैयारी नहीं थी। तो वो कह रहे थे कि फाटा को अगर वो चूँकि फेडरल चैप्टर है उसको 2% दे, अगर हम दें IJK को 1% दे और GB को 1% दे और सिक्योरिटी जो CPAC है उसके 3%, ये तकरीबन 9% बनते हैं। तो क्या जो डिविजिबल पूल है और उस पर सबसे ज़्यादा इतराज़ात PP के आ रहे हैं, तो क्या ये मर्जर की जो बात हो रही है KP गवर्नमेंट इसको खुश करने के लिए ये एक स्ट्रेटजी हो सकती है फेडरल गवर्नमेंट की?
Assessing the potential for food self-sufficiency on fragmented plots in Fata. I have changed the topic with me a little bit just because I wanted it to be a little bit more clearer, because we people in agriculture are using certain terminologies which are not yet introduced to everyone. So, inshallah, after this presentation, you will be understanding a little bit more professional things that we talk about in agriculture.
For me, of course, it's a great honor to chair this session on the currents, economic currents about Fata, because Fata is an area located in Pakistan international politics is indeed hovering around it. And for me, it is a great privilege that I was one of those who initiated the idea of establishing Center for Fata Studies. And Professor Hussain Soharwordi is indeed spearheading the great efforts to make Fata Studies a proper academic discipline in the region. And I hope that these conferences and these studies will go a long way in making Fata an academic discipline on the academic agenda, not only in Pakistan, but in the international arena as well.
I'm asking a couple of questions. The first question is, can education contribute to the socio-economic development of Fata? And it's a little theoretical. I'll try to respond to this. The second question that I will be raising will be, what contribution can education make towards socio-economic development of Fata? So if education can contribute, what can it contribute? The third point that I'm going to then highlight will be, what's the starting point? So if Fata were to get merging, or Fata gets special status, or whatever the future of Fata, we'll have to take the stock of current educational status of Fata so that we can plan where to move to. And the fourth part of my presentation, where I would conclude, would be what improvements are needed. So what are the areas of improvement that are needed, particularly in education, as education contributes to the socio-economic development of Fata. So this is going to be the total 4 parts of my presentation.
In case of rural areas, if you belong to rural area, you know that livestock is an asset for the household with all them. In case of any social uncertainties, for example, in case of marriage, in case of any health issue, in case of funerals, in case of marriages, etc., livestock were sold out, are butchered. So they are providing securities to meet uncertainties. 17.5% of households in government agencies are dependent for livestock as an asset to meet their social and economic uncertainties. Next. Now these are the statistics which show the women's role in rural livelihoods by managing livestock. The livestock tests are run for rural stamp education, livestock management activities, and the income earned from livestock. The statistics show the significance that the women's stamp education is significantly associated to the livestock income in a household. And secondly, also the rural women's stamp education is significantly associated to the quantity of milk available for household consumption, and also it is significantly associated with the food provision for household consumption. From these statistics, we can say that women have a predominant role in case of livestock income, in case of food provision, and in case of food provision at household level. Further, these are also the results showing the women's role in rural livelihoods by managing livestock. The results show that women's stamp education to livestock management activities and livestock income has a positive relationship. Positive relationship means that when women contributing more in terms of time allocation to livestock activities, they will earn more. And ultimately the household will earn more.
Mr. Sajid, you have emphasized a lot on the education aspect, but we would love to find a link into the professional aspect as well. So what professional opportunities should be created for people who have already graduated from universities, and how should such opportunities be created? Because we see MA graduates driving rickshaws, selling pakoras and things like that. So we have the graduates, but how can we plan on these things?
The 3 things are quite important: the learning environment, the kind of physical facilities that are provided, the teacher, how confident that teacher is, and the curriculum, what is taught in the class. अगर हम इन 3 चीजों पे फोकस करें, I think these are the key to quality education.
You are our future. I appeal to you, please don't follow these corrupt models. जो सिर्फ अपनी मफाद, मेरी दिलचस्पी, मुझे क्या मिलेगा हर चीज में। I come here, ये मेरे जहन में कि जाऊंगा तो खाना पीना होगा, ये होगा, कुछ पैसे भी मिलेंगे, लानत हो यार। कोई जज्बा भी रखो, काम पे जज्बा रखो। So please, we are banking on you. We have miserably failed. You are our future. So whatever field you join, please work hard. Give your best, and then there is hope. Because if you don't, take a U-turn for the better, I'm afraid we do not have much of a future. So Allah bless you all. Thank you once again. I'm sorry for taking a little more time.
Nowadays in FATA, all these things, for example, the application of the PEX and the paying of the electricity bills, these are not extended to FATA due to its specific nature or peculiar characteristics. But this is just an economic justification. And the second thing is that this dam will be going to be constructed in the high emergency FATA, but it can provide water to the Peshawar and metropolitan areas. So in the settled areas, a specific water rate can be applied and water can be charged. So there are economic justification as well as practical justifications for these.
6.5 million rupees was spent on the identification of the historic and scenic places in FATA, and we do not see any activity regarding tourism in FATA, which can again give a lot of boost to the local economy. Movement, of course, if you want to improve the economic condition of any region, free movement is very important. Again, I would refer to the abduction of some engineers and workers of certain projects in Waziristan. So if that is the situation, if that is your security, that the workers of skilled labor is not allowed to freely move in an area, how can then you think of executing such huge projects in a certain area? In Bara, I will again, because I have been reporting from Bara for a long time, we the journalists from Ranipota, even we have, despite the fact that we have a domicile of Khyber Agency, I as a bona fide resident of Khyber Agency am not allowed to freely move in Bara, any part of Bara. Same is the case with Waziristan, and same is the case with Central Kurum, and same is the case with upper subdivision of Aurangzeb. Unless and until you have a Watan card, which is like a visa for entering a certain private territory, you are not allowed to go to your area, no matter if you have your CNIC.
सर आपने स्ट्रेटेजिक्स की बात की कि अफगानिस्तान में, तो क्या फाटा मर्जर ये डिफरेंट लाइन और बॉर्डर मैनेजमेंट पॉलिसी इसको इंश्योर कर सकता है? और दूसरी स्ट्रेटेजी की है कि पाकिस्तान के जितने भी दरियात हैं, काबल रिवर, गोमरजाम जो डैम इस पर बना है, टोची रिवर, तो क्या इसका इम्कान है कि जैसे इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी हुआ है पाकिस्तान का अफगानिस्तान के साथ इस किस्म का मुआहदा हो सकता है?
Bring about one important analysis is supposed to be analyzed from is up the other individual levels are not supposed to be national system in which states objective framework is to be taken into consideration. Then the third level of analysis is the individual level of analysis. Execution and is the state's policy allocation evaluation. Therefore, these are the three important levels of analysis. I would say that Afghan foreign policy towards this particular area. Now, what we find is, but I would say simply, that FATA administrative and political structure has actually evolved, and particularly or is totally ruled by different rulers and different centuries, trader and tribesmen and other this side also, and we find is that it has actually been comprising of this region. We find that somewhere Mirza Ali is a fakir of AP who led actually British and later on Pakistani security forces on 97 against the British through a combination of tactics. Those tactics were actually like pesticism, harbour tracks, and similar the British bullets to water. Now that we find coming to the other factors, Pakistani intelligence agencies. The feature is currently there, and what we find is that but briefly, what we find is that Taliban actually attended or who has worked with 4 American presidents and important information, while at the same time, on occasion, on the other side, he has also actually acknowledged that Pakistan is equally fatal when we disputed that this country is very much a kind of 1979, and on the other side, Iran. On the other side, you find Middle East on phenomena attracted the tribal young generations with the federal government under 1/3 of the national income. Only 17 point. There is no eminent and there is no representative, female representative in FATA against communism. That is, that Pakistan became a frontline state.
Title of this talk is Fata merger and its impact on economy. Entire summit.
तो मुझे फिर ये एहसास हुआ शहीद सोहरवर्दी साहब के कहने पे कि वाकई हम कैसा मुल्क है जहाँ खित्ते खित्ते में कानून बदलता है, ABCD मतलब क्या कहलाते हैं, जहाँ एक ही मुल्क के रहने वाले मुख्तलिफ कानून के तहत आ जाते हैं, और जब कानून बदलता है तो बदकिस्मती तो मैं आपसे शेयर करूँ। The world is will soon be part of mainstream Pakistan as an integral part of the country ruled by the law of Pakistan. It is a good news, and I would like to believe it. But such buzz has been heard before. The matter has been considered in 1976 in a brief note in the receipt from our report. Then in 1996, for extension 2006, Justice Ajmal Mia's report of 2008, a report by the Shaheed Foundation of 2008, and should not continue to follow the policies of the British, formulated at the time when Mr. Churchill of 1857. Let us free ourselves from the attitudes of the British India and own our country. The system is an age-old institution and deciding disputes by a group of respected senior citizens of the relevant community. They claim to make Islam as the basis of justice of the religion. Young couples have been killed and stoned for marrying without the permission of parents. There have been violations of human rights. It should not appear to alienate the elders and wives, but to make them understand, and perhaps the extreme punishment should be made subject of review by courts, will be approved and implemented. It has been delayed. It is against the interests of FATA as well as Pakistan. The reforms suggested will become relevant after for the integrity of the country and welfare of the people of
Zerbe on Fata and rest of Pakistan. Then I will be speaking on current challenges and security dynamics of Fata. Then I will talk about how these 5 R's could be applicable to Fata region. Now, Operation Zerbe was launched on 15 June 2014. So these operations did not emerge as successful, and Operation Zerbe was a much thought after decision of Pakistan government and Pakistan Army. Initially, 30,000 soldiers were deployed in this to best of their efficacy and efficiency. The operation is based on 4-pronged handing over control to civil administration. Firstly, the area has been totally. Secondly, evacuation of civilians. Thirdly, the military attacked the terrorist camps and destroyed their communication and of Zerbe. When we talk about impact, I'm going to talk about overall impact of Zerbe, which I've seen through different reports at international level. 15. Let me read it out. Okay, so I have taken some facts from South Asia Terrorism Portal, which is taken as one of the most authentic data collection on terrorism from South Asian countries. And it says civilian countries that saw a decline in deaths, and accordingly, it dropped from 3rd to 4th. That makes Operation Zerbe as a very successful operation since 2001. In 2013, before Zerbe, 3,001 civilians killed in terrorist violence. In 2015, the casualties decreased to 532 to 308 in 2016. Around 7,500 bomb factories, total 3,500 terrorists were killed, and almost 992 safe spent in operation response. Now, what is the current security dynamics of Fata? Palpable decrease in killings and terrorist incitement. It is still a target by militant outfits and victim of collateral damage. Temporary displaced person is still going on. There are almost 92,000 families, including 750,000 people have been displaced during these 2 years of the operation. Now, the concept of 5 R's. So why it is needed before we move on to overview of the development of Fata region? Why we need these 5 R's? Because according to Michael, every 2,327 people as compared to 1,450 in the rest of Pakistan, for a population of 8,189, only 1 doctor is available, and a mere 43% people have access to safe drinking water. Community mainstream structures. Around 93,000 families have been temporarily displaced, up to almost 750,000 names. I would like to conclude that the concept of 5 R's is very much applicable to Fata region once operations are contextual peace building. Why most of the times Western or foreign peace building projects are failed in resolving local disputes? The major factor is absence of local culture. So if there is local culture involved, by local culture I mean Pashtun Wali, the institution of Jirga, and involvement of local people rather than foreigners and non-Pashtun people, if that is there, it is going to Fata
is asked to be that supporting of non-state actor causes isolation. And my second question from Sir Naeem Tahir, sir, how can we regulate the illegal business in Fata which cause national exchequer? और सर तीसरा है कि ऐसा कोई खदशा.
Hold on. 2 questions, good enough.
Thank you.
There are 3 laws. Just hold on those institutions that we need. So therefore,
these things are supposed to be, Pakistan would require to look the case not in isolation, but it should be
more like narcotics and those businesses which are sponsorship or run इसका कोई एक जवाब तो नहीं है, लेकिन इसमें सारे ही इदारी को डेवलप करना जो है वो शायद किसी हद तक उसके रूट को कम कर, लेकिन इलीगल बिजनेस में रिस्क को आप ज्यादा बढ़ा देंगे, रिस्क को बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ा देंगे तो शायद कुछ कम हो जाए अगर उन्हें मालूम हो कि वाकई पकड़े जाएंगे और उनको सजा भी मिलेगी। और दूसरी तरफ अगर आप उस बिजनेस
And then this question that you asked, you can happily answer that. Next question. Yes, but I'm talking about the entire border region, including China, because I've been there, I go there quite often.
Sir, I have a question from Dr. Shaheed. Sir, as you mentioned in your talk that Pakistan has used the Taliban as their instruments for achieving their foreign policy goals. So, how much Pakistan has been successful in achieving their goals? And the second thing is that how can Pakistan formulate their foreign policy to achieve a peaceful Fatah?
In Afghanistan, and at the same time they have signed actually the combination of the nuclear umbrella and the Kharbar and the guerrilla activity big in India, that we would like to actually start a dialogue or something which is supposed to be agreement resolved things. 3-4 months Pakistani authorities are in Washington, in Foreign Office or in other particular actually forum. They have been begging India that we would like to actually start a new government, that was the Modi. So that is basically Pakistan has failed. The intelligence agencies have themselves failed. They are not understanding. They took it actually, and that sense is actually, it is just like a kind of detachment from the army, a group. So that is been already actually failed. What I am insisting, what I am actually in that sense educated, that unless Pakistan is actually also said. But what that Achazai is actually educating, he is educating a peace. And that peace is that this region, that is Union line, on that part and on this side and this side, the 40 million Pakhtuns have down the country that much suffered since 1979. It's another thing that this phenomena has now gone to that area. But we are actually having that profile of the Zarab that much terrorism cannot be eliminated.
5,000 years ago, we are the ones till date. This was his statement. So in the context of this statement, would merger of Fatah with KP have an impact on the long-demanded Pashtunistan stand by the Afghans? This is my main question.
No problem politically where they can, and by sitting across the table. So therefore,
dynamics. So my question is that would it not be better to focus on domestic economic activities and industrialization in Fatah and to have trade routes with Afghanistan, because it will result in low transportation cost. So in my second question from ma'am, looking to the ground reality, is it not true that the what the government shows is just documentation?
Okay. As you people have highlighted the issues and opportunities in Fatah, but what are the proper planning to exploit these opportunities? And I can see majority of the students here sitting are from KP. They are not from Fatah. So how they are going to give you a great input for Fatah, for development and Fatah?
Thank you very much.
सवाल नूर शाहजहां साहब से है कि नूर शाहजहां साहब ने फाटा मेन स्ट्रीम के हवाले से बात की, इसमें कुछ हार्ड जिसने वजाहत नहीं की, लेकिन उसकी बात की कि लीगल और पॉलिटिकल हर्डल्स है।
सवाल क्या?
सवाल ये है सर कि इनमें जो लीगल हर्डल्स है वो कौन से हैं और जो पॉलिटिकल हर्डल्स है वो कौन से हैं?
पख्तूनख्वा जो है वो सिर्फ एक लफ्ज है, उसके लिए के पी के अगर तीसरा हम के लगाते हैं तो वो गलत हो जाता है लिंग्विस्टिकली भी, और मेरे ख्याल में ये सबको पता है। तो कहीं मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि के पी सिर्फ बोला जाए,
के जो ही गलत हो जाता है।
Question from Maria. She explained 5 R's. So my question is, what is the main difference between the first 2 R's, reconstruction of society and rebuilding of institutions? What are those variables from which we can judge both these R's separately?
अगर आपको चाहिए कि पार्टिसिपेंट्स को इतना ही टाइम दिया जाए जब तक स्पीकर्स को दिया जाता है क्योंकि एक दूसरे का व्यू शेयर करते हैं। और सेकंड बात ये है कि हम यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम निकालते हैं देन पे कि जस्टिस ने किया फलाने ये किया फलाने।
क्वेश्चन क्या है?
Ask your question. Let's talk about solutions. What are the initiatives we can take towards that good thing about it? Particular initiative क्या ले सकते हैं? Solution क्या है सर? Education के वाले से बात करें कि हाँ आपका क्या हुआ है क्या नहीं हुआ? We are blaming one another. Justice को blame कर रहा है, कोई forces को blame कर रहा है. That's not the solution for it.
Because it denotes something else. Let us restore hope amongst its people by actually doing what we all said we should. Thank you very much. Way past.
Yes, Seema, anything for you, sir? For us from your side? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And these are not untrue, that's true. But the problem is that if we present an area which is 2.5 or 6%, the representation of Pata as a human community where human beings live. I think we have inherited this mind, I think after partition. And it was the British policy of kind of forward and backward presence in the media, national and international, is during the Afghan war. Not the first Afghan war, but rather this one, which started in the 70s. A representation in the media, anywhere, especially be it Pakistani media or the international media. And the international media's focus was basically for one very reason. Live better, kind of hold them international correspondents and people like that, and create an image which suits a media which is covering war. So it was more war. And this thing did continue from war in Afghanistan. It went into war in Pakistan, which is still considered to be that everything that bad happens in Pakistan and also around the globe, there is some connection with Fatah with people. Specifically, what Fatah has to offer. And some of our journalist friends, myself included, have kind of a macroeconomic picture of Fatah. The good ones will have that. The weaker ones even don't have that. Because, for example, if I ask a few friends about the population of Pakistan population, you can do the math. But I have never read it somewhere. Because in no newspaper, in no television show, where you see every day there is a lot of coverage of Fatah. But never ever how much Pakistan spends per capita when it comes to KP, Gilgit Baltistan and Fatah gets the least. Gilgit Baltistan. So you want to solve problems in a part of the country, you have to contribute money into it. You are not doing it. And it's been 70 years almost. Schools brought down and people not going to school. The question of schools, for example, is that via economic activity, we have 3-4 main areas. So there is some agriculture, there is some, how do you do that basically? I'm not going to get you into a journalism class, but some basis because I see a few guys who are into journalism. So I speak to them. You can also listen to them. So the thing is that when you say Fatah has immense mineral potential, correct. What specifically is it? Where is it located? What is located where? How much is its worth? How much would you spend to bring it you can just repeatedly criticize government, political agentry, law and order and whatever you want to say, But at the end of the day, somebody would ask, so what to do in class, I know, but I was just, I was head of the DW Urdu service in Pakistan in Germany. We need the view of a common man. And he said, no problem, sir. And then I got a view from a doctor, from a student, from a shopkeeper. It was in writing, but we used to run a radio. And doing it to find. You have to really ask people who have the answer to the question. And so you just have to approach those guys, you know? And you have to ask questions and explain. So that's how media could deal with it. But we as a nation, to treat a part of our country is important. The way we look at it, you know. You change the name, you change SCR into Pakistani law, whatever you do. But
we just globalizing Afghanistan, the Afghan view. So his views and comments are especially important as coming from a person who knows and is aware of engineering, sciences and technology through Peshawar. His topic of presentation is
across the globe. So I had some literature on there which I would like to discuss, share it a bit. Not in too much detail, not to make it happy discuss. And then I want to talk about the way forward in post-FATA reform era. That could be a merger or some other status, whatever the case is. I would say that these are few things which need to be focused on for economic development and growth. So if we look at the literature on economic growth and development and transportation and trade, mainly we can find two sort of literature. Finding some relations. Mostly it's theoretical sort of discussion. Maybe boring for many people who are more interested in data in real world scenarios. So for that we have this existing literature on these particular areas. It could be done by many ways. I could do it through, for example, based on regions. There are so many regions, continents, countries, areas, and infrastructure. There would be possibility of focusing on infrastructure. Transportation is a really big term, I would say, or communication. You can think of road transportation, you can think of railway,
are more intimately connected both economically, politically, socially, rather than the I think his recommendations are also very weighty and require consideration. I now
operations in all these conflict situations led to more than 27,000 fatalities in the region. And although now that the FATA is going through a transition period from a conflict to post-decade or so, has significant detrimental effects on the region. And as one of the aspects of the themes of this conference suggests, we have to look at the challenges in this region. So when we talk about exposure to conflict, we talk about the cost and the impact that it has on the region. But here comes the problem. Unavailability of reliable data on stunting at the agency level for FATA. So there has been a study, FATA Development Indicators Household Survey, and that provided for the overall FATA region. They do not disintegrate into different agencies. Hence, I cannot match, as a researcher, I cannot do examination of the violence-stunted relationship in FATA. So what I did was I used KB as a close proxy because one, attacks, high episodes of violence, and we do have data for stunting for the KP children, and it is obtainable from Pakistan Demographic Health Survey. Standard deviation. What it means when I do the back-of-the-envelope calculation, it means that the children in KB are likely to experience an 8% reduction in the return. We would have a higher expected reduction in wages for the children of FATA. And besides this, we can also have direct effects on cognitive abilities and social-emotional behavior, non-cognitive abilities, for example, which means that we would have, the FATA region would have a less which would be a threat to market development in that region. Now, which is behavior. Now, for any market development from economics point of view, intergroup competition, risk-taking behavior, and social interactions are preconditions. But what happens when there is violence, when there is conflict? Exposure to violence, even if it is indirect, it can affect the risk preferences and social attitudes. So living in a violent environment would lead to risk aversion. People become risk averse. And it would lead to a reduction in intergroup social interactions. We see that in Mexico. I did research with two of my other co-authors and we found that result from Mexico. And what I showed that why this would happen, the institution failed to protect them. So this risk aversion behavior, why should we worry about this risk aversion behavior? Because when you become risk averse, you are not going to invest into that person. Instead, you prefer someone who we know, we would give it to that person, maybe on 15,000 rupees, because we know that person. So what happened? Because